Hello, I'm Katie Woods. I'm one of the directors in our Global Corporate Reporting Services team, and I'm focused on sustainability reporting. I'm back with our weekly update on what's going on in the global sustainability reporting arena, focused on the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards. This week, I'm going to pick on or have a look at risks and opportunities, sustainability risks and opportunities. Now, these aren't defined in the standard, but they're covered in quite a lot of detail in the standard, and we've also covered them in our guidance, the content called Navigating Sustainability Reporting, Practical Application and Analysis, which you can find on PwC Viewpoint. In order to determine the sustainability risks and opportunities of an entity, you really need to understand the resources that the entity relies on, as well as fully understand the value chain that the entity has entered into. And that will then look to meet the reporting objective under IFRS S1. Dependencies and impacts on resources and relationships will then lead to the identification of those risks and opportunities, and actually how those risks and opportunities then influence the prospects of the entity. What are the prospects of the entity? Well, they're defined in the standard IFRS S1 as those that influence cash flows, access to finance, or cost of capital. So in effect, you're looking at how the sustainability risks and opportunities are going to impact those prospects, which you might otherwise call as sort of value or the value of the entity. But how do you find those sustainability risks and opportunities? Well, luckily, in the IFRS S1, there is an algorithm which helps you go through the process of identifying the sustainability risks and opportunities that the entity is exposed to. The first of those steps is to look at the standard itself. So to look at the standards that are being applied, so IFRS S1, but then look to the thematic standards that are produced within the same framework. Now, as I speak, there's only one thematic standard out there, which is the climate standard. But in time, the IFRS Foundation have made it quite clear that future IFRS sustainability disclosure standards will be issued. So you look to that standard first to help identify the sustainability risks and opportunities. If, however, that standard doesn't help you to do so, then the standard requires or says that you should refer to and consider the Sustainability Accounting Standard Board standards. Those are the SASB standards. Now, these cover 77 odd industries, and they look specifically at metrics that are industry relevant. However, the standard doesn't say you must apply the SASB standard. What it says is that you need to refer to and consider the standard. So if the standard isn't relevant or doesn't cover the elements to identify the relevant risks and opportunities, then you would go on to look elsewhere. Remember, even if you do apply the sustainability risks and opportunities through those metrics, data, etc., that are identified within the SASB standard, that the objective of the IFRS sustainability standards is to identify the value of the entity and also the value the entity creates, preserves or erodes for others. And actually the SASB standards tend to just look at the value to the entity. So there's a wider aspect that needs to be looked at when referring to and considering the SASB standards. You don't stop at the SASB standards, there are other references as well. You may refer to and consider the CDSB standards on either water or biodiversity. Also, look at other standards within a similar framework. And it's worth pointing out here, because the IFRS sustainability disclosure standards refer to or reflect the investor perspective, then at this point, neither the Global Reporting Initiative, the GRI standards, or the European Sustainability Reporting Standards that look at the wider stakeholder value, neither of those are referred to as that next step within identifying your risks and opportunities. And then finally, you would look to disclosures of other entities in the same industry to help you identify those sustainability risks and opportunities. So, what else does the standard say? What else do you need to do? What it says is that you should identify those sustainability risks and opportunities by using all reasonable and supportable information without undue cost or effort. Now, that doesn't mean that we say, oh, it's all too difficult and I can't find my sustainability risks and opportunities. What it means is that there has to be a process, a determination, probably documented, that then determines what those sustainability risks and opportunities are. The other thing to mention is that you should identify them over the short, medium, and long term. Now, why do I mention that? Well, it's interesting because over the short term, from a financial reporting perspective, would be the normal approach that you would use. But using medium and long term means that you need to look further out in your timeline, in your budgets, in the entity's prospects, the future, to determine those risks and opportunities. Now, under the European framework, which we're not focused on here, but worth mentioning, that short, medium and long term are defined periods of time. But under the IFRS Sustainability Disclosure Standards, that's not the case. It's the entity's short, medium and long term. And that definition, that focus on those sustainability risks and opportunities will then lead you to the next step, which will be the disclosure of those sustainability risks and opportunities. But that's it for this week. I do try and keep them short and sweet. Actually going on a bit of a break from these weekly updates, just for a couple of weeks for the holiday period, but we'll be back shortly with the latest update on IFRS sustainability disclosures. With that, thank you for watching.